Man and His Symbols was Carl Jung's final work and marked a significant shift in his approach to the public. Throughout his career, Jung focused on complex theories and communicated mainly with an academic audience familiar with the technical terms of analytical psychology. However, one particular event led him to write for a broader audience, a revelatory dream that occurred late in his life. In this dream, Jung realized that his ideas were being misunderstood or not adequately grasped, which left him uneasy. Interestingly, he noticed that ordinary people, those without academic backgrounds, were more capable of understanding his profound message about the unconscious. After reflecting on this dream, Jung concluded that it was time to translate his ideas into accessible language, allowing his discoveries to be understood by a larger audience. This dream was pivotal in his decision to abandon overly technical terminology and instead communicate his ideas more clearly and practically. Man and His Symbols was thus conceived as an introductory work aimed at explaining how the symbols that appear in dreams, myths, and art reveal the deep workings of the unconscious. Through this symbolic language, Jung wanted to show the average reader how these elements serve as bridges between the conscious mind and the unconscious, providing a path to self-knowledge and psychological balance. The book not only synthesizes his main theories, but also establishes a direct dialogue with the general public, offering practical, everyday examples to explain how symbols affect our psyche. Throughout the work, Jung seeks to demystify the idea that the unconscious is an inaccessible or foreign territory. On the contrary, he argues that we all have access to the unconscious through our dreams, and by interpreting them correctly, we can better understand who we are, integrate hidden parts of our personality, and live more fully. The aim of this book is precisely to provide the reader with the necessary tools to decipher these symbolic messages and use them in their personal lives. Jung not only wanted to popularize his ideas, but also to provide a practical guide for anyone to explore their inner world. The book is thus presented as an accessible yet profound work, connecting psychological knowledge to daily experiences, demonstrating that symbols are present in all aspects of human life. In Part 1 of Man and His Symbols, Carl Jung introduces us to the symbolic language of dreams, highlighting them as a direct form of communication between the unconscious and the conscious. To him, dreams are not mere random activities of the brain during sleep. Rather, they are meaningful expressions of the psyche, conveying crucial information about our psychological state. It is through dreams that the unconscious finds a way to bring hidden, repressed, or neglected issues to light, using symbols that challenge the linear logic of the conscious mind. These dream symbols are fundamental in restoring balance between the conscious and unconscious, which is essential for mental health. Jung compares this process to the physical balance of the body. Just as we need a healthy diet to keep the body functioning, we also need a balanced interaction between the different parts of the psyche. When we ignore or repress certain feelings, fears, or desires, the unconscious tries to rebalance the mind through symbols and images in dreams. A common example is the emergence of universal symbols, such as water or fire, which can represent deep emotional aspects. Water, for instance, is often associated with the unconscious, emotional life, and rebirth. If someone dreams of turbulent waters, it may symbolize an emotional crisis or repressed internal conflicts that need resolution. Fire, on the other hand, can represent both destruction and transformation, signaling the need for internal change. Jung emphasizes that these symbols should be interpreted sensitively, as their meaning can vary depending on the dreamer's life context. The interpretation process is personal, but it is possible to identify symbolic patterns that recur throughout humanity, evidencing the presence of universal archetypes. These symbols act as messages from the unconscious, offering an opportunity for the individual to confront aspects of themselves that lie outside conscious perception and need integration to achieve psychological balance. Moreover, dreams can serve as warnings or guides. For example, when a person is living unilaterally, overly focused on the rational or neglecting their emotions, the unconscious sends dreams that bring these forgotten areas to the forefront. These symbols may seem perplexing at first, but by decoding them, the individual can make more conscious and balanced decisions. Therefore, the symbolic language of dreams is a tool for self-discovery. By understanding these symbols and what they reveal about the unconscious, people can not only resolve internal conflicts, but also move toward a more complete and integrated life, where both the conscious and unconscious work together in harmony. The concept of archetypes is one of Carl Jung's central ideas, crucial for understanding the human psyche. Archetypes are patterns of behavior, images, and symbols that appear repeatedly in different cultures and eras, reflecting universal themes of human experience. They manifest in dreams, myths, legends, and traditions, emerging as symbolic figures representing deep aspects of our psyche, such as the hero, the mother, the wise old man, the trickster, and the shadow. These archetypes are not formed by individual experience, but belong to a deeper level of the mind, which Jung called the collective unconscious. The collective unconscious is a psychic structure shared by all humanity, composed of experiences accumulated over generations. Unlike the personal unconscious, which contains unique experiences of each individual, the collective unconscious contains the essence of universal human experiences. It functions as a reservoir of images and symbols that emerge at key moments in our lives, especially when facing major dilemmas or personal crises. Archetypes, in turn, are the forms in which these universal experiences manifest. For example, the hero archetype arises when we face challenges that require courage, strength, or perseverance, while the shadow archetype reflects the aspects of our personality that we tend to reject or repress. When they appear in dreams, archetypes reveal tensions or imbalances between the conscious and unconscious, offering an opportunity for the individual to integrate these opposing forces into their personality. The importance of archetypes lies in the fact that they connect us to a deeper dimension of our psyche, offering a way to understand not only our personal issues, but also our place in the broader context of human experience. They help reveal repetitive behavior patterns or unresolved conflicts that may be blocking our development. By becoming aware of these archetypal images and their meanings, we can deal with our own challenges more effectively and promote more integrated psychological growth. The understanding of the collective unconscious and its archetypes shows us that despite our individuality, we share a common psychic structure that connects us all. This perspective not only broadens our understanding of ourselves, but also offers the possibility of viewing life through a new lens, where the symbols and images around us speak to universal themes that transcend our personal stories. Joseph L. Henderson, a collaborator of Carl Jung, provides a fascinating insight into the relationship between ancient myths and the psychological evolution of the human being in man and his symbols. He argues that archetypal myths, such as the myth of the hero, are fundamental to the development of human consciousness. Myths are stories that transcend time and culture, conveying universal themes that express the challenges and transformations of psychic life. More than mere narratives, myths act as metaphors for each individual's inner journey, particularly in the development of the ego. The hero myth is one of the most emblematic examples. This archetype appears in various cultures and symbolizes the individual's journey towards self-knowledge and maturity. The hero's story usually begins with a crisis or a call to adventure, leading them to confront unknown forces, often representing the darker and repressed aspects of their psyche. The hero must overcome obstacles, facing their fears and limitations, and by doing so, they not only transform themselves, but also contribute to the growth of their community. Henderson explains that the evolution of modern man should not be viewed solely in terms of technological or scientific advancements, but also as an internal evolution of consciousness. Myths provide a symbolic framework that helps guide this process. As the ego develops, it inevitably encounters unconscious forces that need to be integrated. The hero myth, therefore, serves as a symbolic representation of this inner struggle, where the individual, by overcoming their inner monsters, emerges with a more integrated and stronger consciousness. This hero's journey reflects the process of individuation, where a person not only becomes aware of their potentials, but also acknowledges and integrates the shadow aspects of their personality. The myth, as it is revived in different cultural forms such as literature, cinema, and even visual arts, continues to influence modern man. Despite living in a society increasingly distant from traditional mythologies, human beings still resonate with these narratives because they reflect timeless psychic experiences. The disconnection of modern man from myths, however, has psychological consequences. Henderson suggests that by distancing ourselves from these symbolic roots, we lose a vital source of wisdom that could help us deal with the dilemmas and existential crises of modern life. The sense of alienation that many people feel today can, in part, be attributed to the loss of this connection with myths and archetypal symbols that once provided guidance and meaning. Returning to these myths and the symbolic language they offer can help restore psychological balance in the modern world. The interpretation of myths, ultimately, allows us to access deep truths about the human condition, helping us understand not only our own personal stories, but also our connection to the collective and to the history of humanity. These myths, therefore, continue to serve as symbolic guides, helping shape both individual and collective consciousness. The process of individuation is one of Carl Jung's most important contributions to analytical psychology, and Marie-Louise von Franz offers a deep interpretation of this concept in Man and His Symbols. Individuation represents the ongoing journey of self-discovery and integration, in which the individual seeks to harmonize the different parts of their psyche, the conscious and the unconscious, to become a more whole and balanced person. This journey requires the individual to confront and integrate aspects of their personality that we often prefer to ignore or repress. One of the central elements of this process is the shadow, composed of traits and impulses that we consider negative or socially unacceptable. The shadow may include repressed emotions, denied desires, or personality traits we cannot accept as part of who we are. However, it is not necessarily made up of bad aspects. It often contains positive qualities that have been suppressed or underestimated. Ignoring the shadow, whether out of fear or ignorance, can lead to various psychological issues, such as projecting these aspects onto others, resulting in interpersonal conflicts and self-sabotage. Von Franz explains that integrating the shadow is a crucial step in the individuation process. By recognizing and accepting it, not as something to be denied, but as an essential part of our wholeness, we can transform these repressed aspects into sources of energy and creativity. Confronting the shadow is not easy, but it is essential for psychological growth. When we manage to assimilate these aspects, the individual becomes more balanced and self-aware. Beyond the shadow, the individuation process also involves integrating the anima and animus. The anima represents the emotional and intuitive side, more associated with the feminine, and is present in the unconscious of men. Meanwhile, the animus symbolizes the rational and assertive side, linked to the masculine, and appears in the unconscious of women. However, both men and women can manifest the anima and animus in their psychological development. Von Franz emphasizes that in our culture, we often value one of these sides to the detriment of the other, which can lead to imbalance. To achieve a more complete psyche, it is necessary to integrate these opposing forces, accepting and developing both emotional and rational characteristics. When the anima or animus is not integrated, we tend to project them onto others, which can cause problems in relationships. A man may, for example, expect his partner to be emotionally complete for him, while a woman may seek in her partner all the rationality and strength she lacks. Von Franz explains that by integrating these parts of oneself, the individual becomes more emotionally balanced and independent, avoiding these projections. The individuation process, unlike a linear journey, is a continuous and dynamic experience. As the individual integrates the shadow, anima, and animus, they move closer to the self, the center of the psyche. This integration does not eliminate conflicts, but it allows the individual to deal with them more consciously, understanding their roots and unconscious influences. The ultimate goal is to harmonize internal opposites, leading to a fuller, more authentic, and balanced life. Aniela Jaffe, one of Carl Jung's closest collaborators, explores the deep connection between the collective unconscious and visual arts in Man and His Symbols. According to Jaffe, art is a medium through which the unconscious manifests symbolically, often without the artist being fully aware of it. The symbols that appear in artworks, such as the stone, the animal, and the circle, have universal resonance because they are part of the collective unconscious, a reservoir of shared archetypal experiences and images common to all humanity. The stone, for example, is an ancient symbol of solidity and permanence, representing stability and the unchanging essence of existence. In visual art, it often appears as a symbol of strength and durability, contrasting with the fragility of human life. For Jaffe, the stone symbolizes both the foundation of the psyche and the search for an anchor amidst life's uncertainties. Similarly, the animal, which frequently appears in art, is associated with primal instincts and the natural forces dwelling in the unconscious. It reflects the human connection to instinctual roots and the more wild and irrational aspects of the psyche. In dreams and art, the animal often represents both power and intuitive wisdom, challenging the dominance of rationality. The circle, in turn, is one of the most powerful and universal symbols found in mandalas, wheels, and other circular forms across diverse cultures. It represents totality, unity, and the cycle of life, functioning as a metaphor for the human quest for balance and integration. In art, the circle reflects the psyche's search for harmony, symbolizing the individuation process Jung described, where the individual attempts to reconcile the fragmented aspects of their personality into a cohesive whole. Jaffe notes that these symbols present in art throughout history are not purely conscious creations of the artists, but rather expressions of something deeper and universal. As artists engage in the creative process, they tap into these archetypal images, often unaware of how much they resonate with the collective psyche. Through art, the collective unconscious finds a way to express itself, revealing psychological truths that go beyond the individual. She also suggests that in times of social crisis or transformation, these archetypal symbols tend to emerge more forcefully in artworks, reflecting the deep tensions and changes occurring in the collective psyche. Art then serves as a mirror of these internal and external transformations, connecting both the artist and the viewer to an ancient well of wisdom. This relationship between art and the collective unconscious makes artistic creation a psychic process, where the artist becomes a mediator between the inner and outer worlds. Throughout history, recurring symbols like the stone, animal, and circle not only reveal the history of human development, but also the essential, timeless aspects of the psyche. These symbols allow us to access deeper layers of our psyche, connecting us to themes and emotions that transcend time and space. Modern art reflects, in many ways, the dissociation of contemporary man from his connection to symbolic reality. Starting in the 20th century, society began to increasingly value rationality, scientific progress, and technology, leading to a gradual abandonment of symbolic traditions that for centuries provided a framework for interpreting human existence. By breaking away from traditional symbolic language, modern man has distanced himself from the wisdom contained in myths and archetypes that once served as guides for self-knowledge and psychic balance. This disconnect is reflected in modern art, which often expresses fragmentation, alienation, and a lack of meaning. By moving away from figurative forms and clear narratives, modern art broke with the symbols that once connected the individual to a deeper understanding of life and their role in the universe. The rise of abstract art, for example, can be seen as an attempt to capture the complexity and disintegration of the modern psyche, which finds itself divided between the rational and the irrational, the conscious and the unconscious. Movements like abstract expressionism, Dadaism, and surrealism, while innovative in form, often reveal an internal crisis in the psyche of modern man. These artistic movements abandon traditional symbolic representations, choosing instead to express raw emotions, disorder, and chaos that characterize modern experience. Instead of using symbols like the wheel, the circle, or the human figure to represent wholeness and integration, modern art often focuses on the disintegration of form, reflecting the sense of fragmentation within the psyche. This abandonment of symbolic language is deeply related to the extremely rational era we live in. Contemporary society tends to value scientific knowledge and logic, relegating the unconscious and symbolic to a secondary plane. The problem is that by doing so, we lose an essential part of our psychic nature. As Jung observed, the unconscious continues to influence our lives, even if we do not give it proper attention. By rejecting archetypal symbols and their ability to connect us to the unconscious, we risk living a superficial life, devoid of deeper meaning. This relationship between art and the collective unconscious makes artistic creation a psychic process, where the artist becomes a mediator between the inner and outer worlds. Throughout history, recurring symbols like the stone, animal, and circle not only reveal the history of human development, but also the essential, timeless aspects of the psyche. These symbols allow us to access deeper layers of our psyche, connecting us to themes and emotions that transcend time and space. Modern art reflects, in many ways, the dissociation of contemporary man from his connection to symbolic reality. Starting in the 20th century, society began to increasingly value rationality, scientific progress, and technology, leading to a gradual abandonment of symbolic traditions that for centuries provided a framework for interpreting human existence. By breaking away from traditional symbolic language, modern man has distanced himself from the wisdom contained in myths and archetypes that once served as guides for self-knowledge and psychic balance. This disconnect is reflected in modern art, which often expresses fragmentation, alienation, and a lack of meaning. By moving away from figurative forms and clear narratives, modern art broke with the symbols that once connected the individual to a deeper understanding of life and their role in the universe. The rise of abstract art, for example, can be seen as an attempt to capture the complexity and disintegration of the modern psyche, which finds itself divided between the rational and the irrational, the conscious and the unconscious. Movements like abstract expressionism, Dadaism, and surrealism, while innovative in form, often reveal an internal crisis in the psyche of modern man. These artistic movements abandon traditional symbolic representations, choosing instead to express raw emotions, disorder, and chaos that characterize modern experience. Instead of using symbols like the wheel, the circle, or the human figure to represent wholeness and integration, modern art often focuses on the disintegration of form, reflecting the sense of fragmentation within the psyche. This abandonment of symbolic language is deeply related to the extremely rational era we live in. Contemporary society tends to value scientific knowledge and logic, relegating the unconscious and symbolic to a secondary plane. The problem is that by doing so, we lose an essential part of our psychic nature. As Jung observed, the unconscious continues to influence our lives, even if we do not give it proper attention. By rejecting archetypal symbols and their ability to connect us to the unconscious, we risk living a superficial life, devoid of deeper meaning. However, it is important to note that while modern art often reflects this disconnection, it can also be seen as an attempt to confront the chaos and disorder of the contemporary psyche. By dealing with fragmentation explicitly, many modern artists express, indirectly, the need to reconnect with symbolic reality. The absence of symbols in modern art, in many cases, points to the very lack they represent in everyday life and the psychological experience of modern man. Restoring this connection with symbolic reality is essential for regaining psychic balance. Although modern art has distanced itself from traditional symbolic forms, recognizing the importance of symbols and reintegrating symbolic language into contemporary culture can help address the sense of alienation and disconnection that permeates modern life. Ultimately, symbols not only offer a deeper understanding of ourselves, but also serve as a means of reconciliation between the conscious and unconscious, between the rational and the intuitive. Jolanda Jacobi, a key collaborator of Carl Jung, illustrates the relevance of symbols in the process of individual analysis in Man and His Symbols by presenting the case study of an introverted engineer. This case exemplifies how symbols in dreams and active imagination can help an individual confront deep psychological issues and overcome emotional blockages that hinder personal development. The engineer, a rational and methodical man, struggled with emotional difficulties and found himself repeatedly stuck in limiting behavioral patterns. His approach to life was marked by an excessive focus on logical thinking and organization, which, while effective in his professional life, left his emotional life underdeveloped. Feeling unsatisfied and emotionally disconnected, he sought analysis as a way to better understand his difficulties. During the analysis, a series of dreams emerged, laden with symbols such as destroyed bridges, turbulent rivers, and threatening figures. These symbols revealed not only the internal tensions the engineer was facing, but also the repressed aspects of his psyche that needed to be integrated. One recurring dream involved a destroyed bridge, which Jacoby interpreted as a clear sign of the disconnection between his conscious world, rational and structured, and his unconscious, filled with repressed emotions and unresolved issues. The bridge, as a symbol, represented the need to restore communication between the conscious and unconscious. By exploring this symbol with the patient, Jacoby helped him realize that his emotional life was fragmented and that he needed to rebuild that bridge to better integrate his feelings and thoughts. Other symbols, such as turbulent water, indicated unexpressed emotional conflicts that threatened to surface uncontrollably unless consciously addressed. As the engineer began to recognize and explore the meanings of these symbols, he developed a greater capacity to deal with his emotions and unconscious impulses. The process of analysis allowed him to understand the psychological dynamics that were hindering his personal growth, and by integrating these previously repressed aspects, he found a new balance in his life. Symbols thus acted as guides, enabling the patient to identify and work through his emotional issues in a deeper and more conscious way. This case study demonstrates how analyzing dream symbols can play a crucial role in psychological healing. By working with symbols and their hidden messages, individuals can access parts of themselves that lie outside their conscious awareness, yet still exert significant influence over their actions and reactions. For the engineer, analyzing these symbols was essential for his emotional maturation, helping him overcome complexes and obstacles that had long blocked his progress. As Man and His Symbols concludes, Carl Jung's message about the importance of exploring the unconscious to achieve a balanced and fulfilling life becomes clear. The central goal of this exploration is not just to relieve psychological symptoms, but to promote self-knowledge and the integration of all parts of the psyche, symbolized by the self. This process of integration is at the heart of individuation, where the individual seeks to align their ego, conscious of its identity, with the deeper unconscious forces that constitute the totality of their personality. The self represents the balance point between the conscious and unconscious, forming the totality of the psyche. The process of individuation is an ongoing journey to integrate the repressed aspects of the personality, such as the shadow, anima, and animus. By integrating these opposing forces, the individual finds deeper balance and a fuller, more authentic life, capable of confronting internal conflicts with resilience and wisdom. Thus, the process of individuation guides us toward a more authentic and balanced life, where the conscious and unconscious work in harmony, fostering deep self-knowledge. If you enjoyed this content and want to learn more about the human psyche and the unconscious, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for our upcoming videos. See you next time.